Naphtali. So he is brought in with Joseph and Benjamin as that one who was outcast. I think it's interesting to show that even though there's this disinherited one, it goes back to that Matthew 20 parable of the denarius. Remember that? I hired you first in the day, later on in the day, but he gave them all the same thing. He's letting people of Israel know, I don't. It doesn't matter. You all are the 12 sons. And he proved it by putting Dan with those two heavy hitters. That's a big thing. That's a huge symbolism to put Dan with Joseph and Benjamin. Holy, that's like that is a word picture of the Matthew 20 parable coming to life. Imagine how they must feel. You put me with him? Did I defraud you? Did I promise you anything differently than I promised him? So then, okay. It's just telling you, of the tribes of Israel, I don't want to hear about demarcations of you're all the same to me. Okay. So he does this over here. Then by the way, the only tribe of Israel that stays in the same position as he did in the tabernacle was Simeon. Interesting. Simeon is the only one who stayed in the same position where he encamped during the days of Moses. Simeon's tribe camped south. Every other tribe in the New Jerusalem, based on Ezekiel 48, is in a different spot. Every single one of them, except for Simeon. Simeon is the only tribe who camps in the same place as where they will be written on the gate, which is south. He camps south. He's written on the south gate. Interesting. Why do I think that is? I think it's because Simeon represents restoration. Because Simeon, in the book of Numbers, was the one tribe who had the numbers diminish the most. God brought him great judgment on his numbers being diminished because of what we saw him do with murdering during the Levi and the rape of Dinah. And we saw he put matters in his own hands. We saw how Joseph treated him, put him behind prison, and the brothers got scared about that. Simeon was by far the testosterone, manly man of the tribes. So God didn't like his warrior, vindictive, little vigilante justice mentality. He made his numbers get little and little and little and little. And the book of Numbers shows that. His tribe got the most amount of diminished numbers. And now he's in, coincidentally, the same southern campsite. He's on the city gate, the same direction. And the south stands for what? Restoration. I think he's showing you that Simeon was restored from no longer being diminished, but being the same. He's all, again, seen as one and the same of the 12 tribes, just like Dan. The disinherited one was put with the two big inheritors. Holy moly. And the one who was diminished in size was kept in the same camp to remind them of his restoration from God. Oh my God. I think it's just amazing to me that God does this. It's just crazy, insane. And by the way, yes?
Now looking at the Numbers and Ezekiel, the east, south, west, north, and the other one is a clockwise. But
right.
You come to the one in Revelation.
That's what I'm saying. It's
no
not
clockwise.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like indicating there is no more time.
That's what I'm saying. There's no more clockwise because he's not pointing. Hey, no more time. It's right. And he's pointing out also when he does in Revelation 21:13, he's pointing out he starts off with the sons of Rachel first. Joseph and Benjamin are first. East is first, which is a salvation. And then north is second, which is the sons of Leah. It's Leah's sons. And what's next is also south. By the way, that's also the sons of Leah. He starts with the sons of Rachel first, Joseph and Benjamin, with plus Dan, which is Bilhah's one of her kids, Rachel's servant. And then there's the northern gate and the southern gate are all 6 kids of Leah. These are Leah's kids. Leah's kids are Reuben, Judah, Levi, Simeon, Issachar, and Zebulun. That's her 6 kids. Those are all from Leah. Leah had 6 kids of Jacob. Those are all her kids. And what a coincidence. They're second and third in the list. All of them.
You know, that her descendants get a double portion of gates as opposed to Rachel.
Well, she only had 6, yeah. And then, of course, Gad and Asher are brothers from Leah's handmaiden Zilpah. Zilpah. But Naphtali and Dan are brothers. But the reason I put this little bracket here between Asher and Naphtali, I put a bracket here between Asher and Naphtali, and a bracket between Issachar and Zebulun, and Joseph and Benjamin, because these 2 tribes, they camp together, are also together on the gates, and so are these 2, because Zebulun and Issachar camp together on the east, and now they're on the south gate together. Asher and Naphtali camp together on the northern side of the campment. Now they're on the western gate together. Joseph and Benjamin didn't encamp together, but kind of did, because Manasseh and Ephraim are from Joseph, and they camped with Benjamin on the western side, and now they're both on the eastern gate. Why do I think that's interesting to note? Because of all the brothers that were the same encampment and all aligned with on the same gate together, they're the only ones that kept their pairing together. He kept pairings together of 6 brothers. 6 brothers' pairings, how they were encamped, were the same as how they were on the gates. Why is that important to understand? I think it's important to understand because it shows you the demarcation of the apostles, how 6 of the 12 were brothers. Peter and Andrew, Peter and Andrew, brothers. James and John, brothers. Matthew and James of Alphaeus, James of Alphaeus, brothers. I think that's not coincidence. I think that's really interesting to me. It's very interesting to me that he has 3 groups of 2 brothers paired together, how they encamped and how they're on the gates together. Just like I see the 12 apostles, interesting enough, but Joseph and Benjamin are veiled because you don't see Joseph's name mentioned in the encampment. It's Manasseh and Ephraim, which are from Joseph. Just like people don't realize Matthew and James of Alphaeus were brothers because it's Matthew of Alphaeus and James of Alphaeus. You don't see that noted, but they are brothers. So there's this interesting demarcation. It's kind of veiled, just like Joseph is veiled. It's there, but he's veiled, not mentioned by name directly.
But of course, it made room for Dan by having 2 back to 1 Joseph.
Correct. It made room for Dan. Exactly right. And Dan is there. And it also, again, like I mentioned last time, shows you that Jesus is saying to you, I don't care if you're disinherited or not. It took all 12 tribes to bring together what I had ordained. Even though I didn't include you in the 144,000, doesn't mean your name's not on the holy city. That's weird, isn't it? It just really is weird. It just shows you how you can be of a heavenly inheritance, but not be of an earthly benefit, right, at first, which really is interesting to me. In other words, what I'm pointing out here is that some people don't understand how God is giving, I believe, this is what, interesting enough, this speaks to the wife of God. Remember, the people of Israel they come in, they have no, the ones from Petra have nothing. They have no fruit yield, they're nothing. They got nothing. There's nothing there to offer. Nothing. There's nothing, right? They're not on testament, they're of covenant. What happens to them? They produce fruit yield. They become nothing when they enter the earthly kingdom to become something in such a way. What happens? They ascend to the heavenly Jerusalem, don't they? Yes, they do. They become the guests in the bridal chamber. That is amazing. That's what Dan is there to represent. The disinherited ones, Israel of covenant, people of Petra, who go through the earth, they come in with no inheritance, they gain a heavenly inheritance. They do. Imagine that. No inheritance coming in, they gain a heavenly inheritance coming out. What? God goes, yeah, that's why I put Dan on the heavenly city. That's why he's there. To show the 144,000 student medical, 144,000 Jews, that, hey, by the way, I love you. I got you. As long as you do 60 fruit yield. 60 fruit yield people get to be those guests, right? So, but the bride of Christ is still above that wife of God. Also, by the way, in verse 12, Brother Todd's point, there was a great wall, high and 12 gates. Look at the left side of your margin. And a wall great and high, having gates 12 and choice gates. So those gates, so this is interesting. So even though Todd's question about are all 12 tribes on all 12 gates, that wasn't, even though the answer was still there's 1 tribe per gate, however, it led me back to say, I got to go back and reread this. And it made you made me catch something I missed. And that is this choice gates. And so that means, he said, of the gates, those gates, meaning of the way it's written in the Greek language, those gates of each gate, that means each gate had 12 angels. Not 1 angel, like I said before. No. There was 12 angels on each gate. That means on each gate, there's 36 angels. Why is that important to know? Interesting. Remember there's 24 elders? Remember there's oi, presbytoi, meaning 24 out of a larger group? Out of what? Out of 36, we believe. Because the third, remember? Third left, right? So I believe these 24 elders are a part of 36 originally, which is why 36 are back in play again. And each gate, there's 36 angels at each gate. 36 angels at each gate. Well, I'm not done yet with the whole, like, what? Yeah, okay, wait. It's not just 1 angel, 36 angels at each gate. 12 angels. It's not 36. I said that wrong. I said 36. 12 angels at each. I said 12 angels. 36. 12 times 3 is 36, times 4 is 48. I got that wrong. I said 30. Why did I say 46? Why did I say that? I'm not thinking straight. 36 elders, excuse me, there's 48 angels in total. 12 angels at each gate, there's 48, right? So there's 12 more, I'm pointing out. There's 36 elders, 12, 24, 36. But there's 12 more angels here. There's 48 angels. I said 36. So there's 12 angels at 12 gates. So there's actually 144. I'm saying this all wrong. Why am I saying 36 for? Okay, I don't know why I'm saying that. I don't know why I'm saying 36. 36 elders. Why did I say 36 angels? I gotta stop saying that. 12 angels times 12 gates is 144 angels, which is a type of the 144 remnant people, right? 144,000, 144 angels. So, interesting enough, there's 12 angels for each gate, and there's 12 gates, right? So when you have these, no, there's not 12 gates, there's 3 gates. What am I doing? See, I'm getting this all wrong again. See, I'm getting, my head's getting all mistaken in my brain. I apologize. There's 4 gates, stupid person. I'm thinking about there's 12 tribes. Sorry. So there's 48. I'm getting all mistaken in my head. See what I'm saying? All mistaken in my head. So there's 12 angels and 4. That's why I'm getting 48 from. Sorry. So there's 12 angels and 4 gates. There's 48 angels. But it says that each gate has at 12 pearls in verse 21. The 12 gates were 12 pearls. Each one of the gates severally was of 1 pearl. Left side of your margin though, it says, and those 12 gates, 12 pearls. And then it says Anna. That word Anna is the word Anna as in again or above. So in other words, an above one of each gate, out of 1 pearl. So in other words, if you go to Mark 7:31, it's this word Anna used when he says that Jesus entered into Galilee, Anna Decapolis, meaning Decapolis region was below Galilee, and this was the region of the sea above it, right? So he's talking about he went above it. So the word Anna means again or above. But speaking of a geographic location, it's above. Here it's geographic, it's about location, so it's above. In other words, the gate, if I can picture this out for you better, so the gate has an opening, right? But the gate opening is, by the way, in Ezekiel 48, it's 18,000 cubits. So 18,000 cubits is basically 5 miles. So it's 18 inches times 18,000, gives you a number, divide by 12, it's basically about 5 miles. Just over 5 miles, that's how big this gate is on each side. So the eastern gate, the southern gate, the western, eastern, northern, southern, and western in that order, those are each 5 miles. They're huge. By the way, that's a big gate. Well, yeah, don't forget that the city length and width, so the length and the width and the height is all, again, 1,500 miles, right? So 5 miles is nothing. Okay, that's a small. So it's a big entrance, of course, because the wall is ridiculous. The wall is the same size all the way around. That's why he says a wall, but the wall is of the entrance of the east side. So that there's foundations of 12 underneath that, right? So you have this apostles there, but the reality is that the gate has a entrance to it that is part of the gate, but the gate itself opens up. The gate itself is solid, made of, there's 12 pearls on the gate. So I'm pointing out in Revelation 21, the way it reads, when he says the same language used over in 21:12, when he says tois gates, it's the same phrasing of idea of oi 12 gates, 12 pearls, meaning on those 12 gates were 12 pearls, on each gate. But out of that, above that, out of 1 pearl. In other words, the frame of the gate was 1 solid pearl. So where is the Anna? The Anna is in verse 21, where it says, and oi 12 gates, 12 pearls, Anna, ice, 1 of each. Revelation 21:21. There's your Anna. So ice, and he says, and what does the ice into mean in the verse 21? Yes. So the ice is the 1. Ice is 1. That's what that means. Ice is 1. Nice, not into, but it's just the ice is meaning 1. Yeah. So when you have the frame of the gate's 1 solid pearl, out of 1 solid pearl, but the gate itself has 12 pearls on it. So Brother Todd brought a good point out about, even though each gate has these tribes on it, that each gate is I keep on saying this. Am I mistaken? There's 12. I said 12 gates. I don't know why. See, I am getting it wrong. Gosh, doggone it. Thank you. See, I did have it. See, why am I second guessing myself? I had it right the first time. I'm getting confused. I want to apologize. There's 3 gates on each side. I'm mistaking in my brain. I keep on going back and forth here. I did it the right way in a pre-study, but when I say it, I'm saying it wrong. So there's 4 directions. That's where the 4 comes from. But there's 3 gates on each side. If I said that, thank you. Okay, so there's 36 angels per side, but there's 12 angels per gate. That's what thank you. Sorry. So I keep on getting this wrong. 12 angels per gate, 3 gates per side, there's 4 sides. If I said that right, finally. I keep mistaking the 4 gates, the 4 sides with the 4 gates. It's not 4. There's 4 sides, but there's 12 gates. So there's 3 gates per side. If I can get that straight, that'd be nice. Okay, so I knew that. I just keep on saying it wrong because I'm being ignorant. I'm being dumb. Okay, so 12 angels per gate, and there's 3 gates per side. 3 gates on one side. That's 36. Where 36 comes from. I was mentioning before, 24 elders and 36. Okay, so there's 12 angels per gate, and each gate is a frame of one solid pearl, and the gate itself is made of, there's 12 pearls on each gate. Okay? We'll got to clarify that. So each gate opens up, has 12 pearls on it, with one name of a tribe on it. So on each gate opens up. By the way, each gate stays open, it says. Back in Revelation 21, the gate, it stays open, and that's in verse 25, and the gates shall not be shut by day, because there is no night, which means they're permanently open. So the gates are open, which means there's probably 6 pearls on this side, and 6 pearls on this side, because it stays open, right? And interesting enough, there's 12 pearls on each gate. But there's one solid pearl. Out of one solid pearl is the frame of the gate. Because it says Anna, above. So above the gate is the frame. So it's the frame above the gate. So probably, I would say, probably so much above as it is more than on the side. So above, Anna. So above is just one solid pearl. But I think it speaks to the doors and lintels. So I think it comes above and goes down. So what's interesting enough is that 6 is number for man. And the gates are open, showing that it is a testimony and witness of what man is allowed in, right? Interesting, because there's 6 pearls on this gate. There's 6 on this side, and there's 6 on this side. And the pearl is known for its luster and its beauty, and it speaks to like purity of how the oyster has the sand, and it irritates it, and it gets this purity of this pure white, right? Pearl, right? So I think it speaks to the affliction, the persecution, the patient endurance of what made you be able to enter into the holy city. But there's 6 pearls on each side of these gates opened up, which also, to me, interesting, makes my mind think, if the name of the tribe is on that door of the gate, which is what it says, going back to Revelation 21:12, and the names are inscribed, which are on the names of the names of the 12 sons of Israel, 12 tribes, on the gates. So wait a minute. So how is it inscribed? If the gates are open, does it say like half on this side and half on this side? So if it's opened up, you don't see the full name then, right? So if it says Issa, this side says Kar, it'd be opened up, you wouldn't see the full name. Isn't that interesting? I did start thinking about that and taught 1 pearl gate in verse 21. So in verse 21, and the 12 gates were 12 pearls. So in verse 21, left side of your margin, and those 12 gates, 12 pearls. So the 12 gates, meaning of those 12 gates, each one had 12 pearls. Verse 21, left side. And then Anna, above, one of each of the gates, okay, was one out of one solid pearl. Okay? So that's what that's talking about, Brother Todd, to your point. 1 pearl per gate, yes. So there's 1 pearl above it, 1 solid pearl above the gate, but on the gate was 12 pearls. So the frame above it was 1 solid pearl, but on the gate was 12. Do you see that in verse 21? So in verse 21, the 12 gates were 12 pearls. So on the 12 Oi gates, there were 12 pearls, plural. Each gate had 12 pearls on it. 6 and 6 on the gate itself. They were solid, not bars, right? But the frame had 1 solid pearl above it. That makes sense. That's what he says, Anna. This is what the interesting part about this is. So the Anna above the gates, 1 solid pearl. The gate itself has 6 and 6 pearls. But if the names are written on it, there's 6 and 6, speaks to the witness testimony number 2. The gates are opened, and yet it's 5 miles long, just over 5 miles long, speaking of God's grace, or circumference, I should say, the circumference around the area. So it's interesting. So you have this, that means 144 pearls. That's correct. That's correct. That's what I was saying before, and I erased it because I was being ignorant. I got mistaken between the gates and the directions. There's 144 angels and 144 pearls. That's correct. Which also speaks to two groups, 144,000, right? 144 angels, 144 pearls, there's 144,000. Anna means again and again. It also could mean above. And this is where, for example, let me show you this since you're mentioning this. In Mark 7:31, go to Mark 7:31, I'll show you where it shows you how it could mean above also how it's used. The word Anna doesn't always mean again. It could mean also above. Go to Mark 7:31 and you'll see how it's used to show above. In verse 31 of Mark 7, he says, and again leaving the confines of Tyre and Sidon, this is how he came to Sidon, confines of Tyre, he came to Sidon, which is due northwest in the region of the Israel area. He came to Sidon of the Lake of Galilee, which is due south, through the midst of the borders of Decapolis, which means above the borders of Decapolis. Decapolis is due south of the Galilee Sea, and the borders above it is where he came in at, because that's where it makes sense. Tyre and Sidon's up here, Galilee's here, Decapolis is down here. So by the mentioning that word on the left side of your margin, it says through the borders, left side of your margin, he came to the Sea of the Galilee, Anna, midst of the borders of Decapolis, meaning above the borders of Decapolis, above. That's where he came from. Tyre and Sidon, he came above into Galilee from these borders above Decapolis. Because Decapolis on a map is below the Sea of Galilee, not above it. It's below it. So this is where Anna means again, but it also could mean above depending on the context. It has both. Which, by the way, isn't too far off in a sense, because it actually has an idea where you could, so when he says again, there's also, for example, when he said the wheat and the tares, it's used there as well. When he says he sowed again, which means above, the wheat was sown first, and then above that, or again, they're both applicable, above the grain the seed he already sown, and again he sowed again tares, right? So it's speaking of after he sowed the wheat, then there was tares, but that was also above what was already sown in the ground before, which was the wheat, right? So you can see how it can look that way. Well, the 12 pearls between each gate would be 144, 36 times 4. So it goes back to Numbers, we went back to Revelation 21. Revelation 21:21, when he said, and those 12 gates, 12 pearls. So of 12 gates, and of those 12 gates, there were 12 pearls. The pearls aren't broken down, though. The pearls aren't broken down. What do you mean? The pearls aren't broken down. The foundations are broken down. The foundations are broken down to different stones from verses 19 and 20. The pearls aren't broken down. I don't know what you mean by that. There's no pearls broken down. I don't know what you mean by that. Unless you're referring to the foundations are the actual ones that are broken down by the precious stones. That's the foundation of the apostles under the wall. That's not the pearls. That's the wall in verse 19. The foundations of the wall were decorated with every precious stone, and he breaks that down. So the 12 pearls are on the gates, but the one above it is one solid pearl. That's what I'm pointing out. Just like in verse 12, I said there was one angel on each gate. No, there's 12 angels, because the way where it says tois, it's of those gates, there's 12 angels on each of those gates. Just like the 12 gates and those pearls means there's 12 pearls on each gate. The way it's worded, it's making you see that there's 12 angels per gate and there's 12 pearls per gate. And there's one and out of the top of it is one solid pearl, which I think also comes down representing the doors and the lintels, the frame.
I think of all the stones, or however you want to think of it, there's not jasper or sardonyx or anything. The pearl ring, to me, reminds me, that though your sins be as scarlet, they will be as white as snow. As it starts out, that little speck, it like sins of scarlet, and then keeps getting the white on it. White as snow, and the pearl's white.
Yeah, the pearl's white, yeah. Well, I think the reason he shows the 6 and 6, it reminds me of, the Urim and the Thummim, how it would light up. Remember, they have that on, then the priest would light up to tell them what to do. So there was 12 stones on it. That's 12 foundations. And now there's 12 pearls per gate, showing again, God speaking to each. It's just interesting that there's 12 angels, which equals 36 per side. It's rather fascinating. So it's different than what I first thought. There's 12 angels total. No, there's 144 angels total. 144 pearls total on each gate, 12 in each gate. Then there's 12, and there's one solid pearl above it, on above it, out of one pearl above it, framing it in. So and of course, the tribes were numbered and the way that they were presented, I wanted to make sure you represent that identity between Simeon, again, being the only one that's in the same encampment as he's mentioned, south. Dan is re-entered into the fray. He was not mentioned in the Revelation 7. Now he's mentioned now in Ezekiel 48. And of course, the direction, as you pointed out. There seems to be no time anymore because there's no sequential. It went from east first, Numbers 2 was east, south, west, and north. Then in Ezekiel 48, it's north, east, south, and west. Then here in Revelation, it's all wackadoodle. It's east, north, south, west. What? You're out of order. But it does make sense from no time. It also makes sense because you're pointing out Joseph and Benjamin. Then you're going to Leah's kids. You're putting in Dan over there. Disinherited with the inherited ones is all put in there, showing you there's equal pay at the end of the day. The Matthew 20 parable of the denarius. Then you go back to north and south. Those are all Leah's 6 kids. What a coincidence.
And of course,
and
the veil in the temple
west.
was rent north to south.
Yeah.
And I think that reflects that temple being rent.
Yeah, right. That's right. The temple. Yeah. Then he starts with salvation and ends with inheritance, which is interesting because in the middle of the judgment and restoration. Isn't that interesting? That's interesting. So, because that's what's north and south is judgment and restoration, and east and west is salvation and inheritance. So at the temple, he starts with salvation, ends with inheritance, and in between is judgment and restoration, which is true. That's what's like, wow. So anyway, with that being said, I apologize for making that faux pas mistake, and it just kind of threw things off verbally. I should have just trusted what I wrote, and I didn't. My verbal rhetoric messed me up in my mind, and I got sidetracked and I got confused with the numbers. I was right to begin with, so just stayed with that. It happens, I'm human, so I'm sorry. I apologize. But again, to reprise this one more time, 12, there's 4 sides, right, of the pyramid city, 3 gates per side. Each gate has 12 angels on it. Each gate is with 12 pearls. It's opened up, and there's one solid pearl above it. The point of the fact that the tribes written on these gates means that the gates are always opened. You would imagine their names are not fully seen. They're not fully seen. They're always opened. So therefore, their names are kind of split, which really represents to me the fact that Israel's not made whole until the end of the Valley of Dry Bones, at the end of this day 8. Only then do these other Jews who have not been come back to life yet, then they get resurrected, and then they can be all things being fulfilled, which I think is interesting for that thing. I think it must speak to something like that, because while I don't understand it, why would the gates be? I know why they're open, because there's no more night there, but if their names are written on there, how's it written on there? Is it written above? Is it written on? It says on the gate, is what it says in verse 12, right? It says it's inscribed on the gates, and it's written in a way that it says it's written as. Let me go back to see the actual verbiage here. An inscription in which, and the names have been inscribed, which is, no, it doesn't say upon or on, it just says have been inscribed, which is the 12 tribes of the name of Israel. So they're on. So maybe that's the answer. Maybe their names are above the gate. Maybe they're not on the gate. I can't figure that out. If it's above the gate versus on the gate, if it's on the gate, you won't be able to read it, right? It's open, it's split. So if it's on top of it, then you could read it. That may make sense. So I'm just trying to figure out what that would mean, but you don't see that Vicky pearl above the gate. You don't see that? Okay, so the above pearl, okay, the 12 pearls represent the 12 tribes, yes. So if you go to verse 21, again, the word Anna, in verse 21, left side of your margin, and Oi, 12 gates, 12 pearls, and it says Anna, 1, and above one of each of the gates was out of one pearl. Okay, so the gates have 12 pearls on them, and it says above the gates is out of one pearl. So there's a demarcation there of location. So if you see that by the top of that word, Anna is the key word to see there in verse 21 of chapter 21. The Anna ice of each of the gates was out of one pearl. The Anna, above one of each of the gates was out of one pearl. Because that word Anna means above, or again, one of the two. That's your understanding. That's where the key shines in on seeing the difference between 12 pearls on a gate versus one pearl above, because it says that. Hope that makes sense. No, ice, okay, so ice, I get what you're saying. Ice could mean into or one. It means, ice has this idea of, you can have either way it could be translated into or one, to your point of this. So you look at this into or one here, the way this is looking, this is the word one, that word ice, if you look it up, it says both. It'll say, you look it up in your Greek study, you'll see it can be translated into the word into or the word one. So it's the word high, it's a cardinal number in this case, they're saying. So it's a good question. Yeah, the Greek says one, yeah. So the context of the way the word is used lets you know if it's a number or the word into. In this case, he's referring to a number, so it's ice. When he says of each one, that's why they interpret it as one. If that helps to make sense. It's a good question, it's fair. Right. 13 pearls at each gate. And to you, it means each one of the pearls makes up one entire gate. Well, that's what I said at first. But when you see the word Oi, 12 gates, and again, those gates, okay? Those gates, 12 pearls. Okay? So he says plural, those 12 gates, there's 12 pearls. He didn't say the 12 gates, 12 pearls. He said those plural gates. So the plural gates have 12 pearls, right? And then he goes on to say an above, Anna, above. I don't know, when you say that, what's 156 mean? I don't know what that even means. Yeah, I'm not counting the one solid, well, when I say, yeah, if you count the one above, then yes, 156, right. I'm not counting the one above, you're correct, right. That's right. That's right. You count the one above 156.
Well, and the interesting thing too about that direction, it's clockwise both ways in Ezekiel and Numbers. Clockwise both ways.
Yeah, clockwise. Yeah. It's clockwise.
Which, more or less, and maybe that's why we do time going clockwise instead of counterclockwise.
Yeah, and to Todd's point too, which I thought was interesting is, this is my mind. So I thought of the gates as being 12 pearls making up the solid gate, 6 and 6, right? Make it these like there's 6 like pearls that are so big they make up the comprising of the whole gate. 6 on this side, 6 on this side. But at the top, I saw it as one solid pearl, and I wasn't thinking of one pearl, so that's on me. I was just thinking of one like pearlized type of like material, but that's not what it says. It says pearl. So to your point, then that means there's 13 pearls, which means the number's not 144, it's 156. So I apologize. So I'm wrong again. So That's why the comment, the pearly gates. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So the gate, we're not saying the gates aren't made of pearls. We're just defining there's 12 pearls on the gate, and then above the gate is another pearl. So it's still a true statement. The difference is, pearly gates is referenced as people saying, I enter in the heavens of pearly gates, when that's not true at all. This is the heavenly Jerusalem, not heaven itself. They think this is heaven. No, this is the place where the bride has been prepared for the bride. That's what he said, right? So in Revelation 21:9, he's describing the New Jerusalem, which is a place prepared for the bride. Okay? So let's close in prayer as we go. We're going to cover this again on Sunday. I apologize for going over. Happy Father's Day once again. So let's close in prayer. Father, thank you so much for this time and opportunity we have. Please work through my erroneous statements and verbal, tongue-twisted things, and help us all to see the truth in your word. Help to see continually how you teach and guide and direct us, and just help us to give us a good day today, remembering back on how you're a loving Father to protect and guide us through all the things in our life that you always provide for us. Thank you for using the fathers that we had in our lives, good or bad or indifferent, to help us to see, despite of or because of them, your love and grace and your truth in our lives. Thank you. Help us to be who you want us to be, and then your children, satisfying and looking to please you. And just thank you so much for, again, loving us, providing for us. We ask those in Jesus, Yeshua's name we pray. Got tongue Sorry, I was way over again.